Hey, thanks for
Yeah.
tuning back in today with us. Today I've got Jeffree Clarkson on the show, aka Jeffree Music. Jeffrey, man, I am so glad to see you again. How you doing, man?
Life's going well down here in the South Pacific.
Look up his social media handles. Everything is under Jeffree Music, Jeffree. He's
Yep.
got currently 11 album releases, meditational music, an audio guide to meditation called Simply Stillness. You've got a book
Yep.
already published called In the Key of Peace.
Yep.
And I was actually listening to some of your meditation music earlier. It's really cool music. Hey, I like you got the cover there. How did you first get into music?
Well, I guess music was always there, and I just naturally went to it. Really, when I was about 10 years old, or just old, 12 years old, maybe rock and roll was out there, and so I kind of put my talents and skills toward rock and roll music. And I was there for about 15 years in various bands, recordings. I did a solo singer songwriter type with guitar and mics and a microphone. And so I went through that. And then when I was in my early 30s, I kind of started to think about whether I wanted to continue in that rock and roll vein. It was a pretty difficult lifestyle when at that point it was in the 80s, 1980s, and things were changing. And so I thought I'd learn to meditate to give me some direction. Where next was the big question. And when I learned to meditate, the irony of choosing to meditate was that um, I discovered that meditation could have a music. And there was already musicians around the world who created meditation music. It was a pretty freelance music. They never played it the same twice. It was a background kind of thing. But I saw an opportunity to, uh, which wasn't too far, obviously different from rock and roll, but it wasn't too far from the way that songs were written to then write an instrumental without vocals and make it last for a long time and make it peaceful, make it quiet and gentle. And because I learned to meditate, I knew what music would work best if I was to use music in a meditation. So it went from there really. That was the short story, and I'm still doing it today, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah. I was listening to it's called the Peace and Quiet Collection on SoundCloud this afternoon. Just
Yep.
as I was doing some other work, editing
Yep.
video that we've done before and stuff. But I got a hold of one of them. I think it was called Transformation. I've never been one yet to meditate. I think it's probably a good thing to get into. But one of the things I really like is how easy it is to help me focus. And a
Yep.
lot of times you turn on music and it's very distracting. But I can play yours and be listening to other detailed stuff that I'm doing in video editing. And it really
Yep.
helps just keep me focused and keep the energy up.
That actually was a kind of a byproduct of writing music for meditation, in that it worked quite well as a background music. And when I say it worked well, it kind of, if you had it playing in the background, it relaxed you in the foreground of whatever you were doing. Within a year or two of writing, getting the first album out, and in fact, that track you mentioned, Transformation, was the first track. That and the other side of the cassette was called Butterfly. And that was out. And within a short while, people were using that for all sorts of purposes. I was getting orders from hospitals for the pain clinic in the hospitals, coronary care, people who were coming to the end of their life needed to relax, and then meditation, tai chi, yoga, and natural birthing, also having a baby. In fact, we have a hospital here in Auckland called National Women's, and National Women's Hospital is where a lot of mums have had their babies. Thousands of them, millions probably, or not that many, but at the time, Butterfly would be. I was selling a lot of the Butterfly cassette into that hospital, and the word was spreading around. So yes, you're right. It's not just a meditation music. It's rather unusual. People get caught off guard by how they feel when it's playing behind them, and how, they could seem to be able to focus and get on with what they're doing. And you don't get a lot of thoughts that come and say, oh, I should do this or I should do that. It was kind of a settling energy, but it works really well as a meditative music as well.
And I like what you're doing as far as the business side of it, getting the name out there and build the brand. And you're doing a great job as far as running a blog on Substack and your website. What's the overall goal with your music?
If you ask a lot of people what's meditation, they'll pretty accurately tell you what it is, but they'll be thinking about the traditional meditation where you sit cross-legged and you hold your fingers in a particular way and you get rid of the thoughts out of your mind, but that's a real difficult jump for Western people, and so the meditation, the reason why I've got into the promotion side of it is to try to get the word through that meditation is a very normal activity and very, very beneficial for the health and well-being, and for a number of reasons. So, and you can do it easily. You don't have to do the traditional way. If you're really into doing that, there's plenty of courses and things you can do. But there's not a lot of, I haven't got much time in my day to meditate. I've only got, you say 20 minutes. All right, I've got 20 minutes. What do I do? And I would say, put on the music, play it very quietly. Sit in an ordinary chair with your feet flat on the floor and don't move. Get yourself really comfortable and try and be as still as you can be for that length of time. And most people have a problem with being still for 20 minutes, but the music helps you to maintain that. And that's the real goal. And that, of course, brings me to what's apart from the health and well-being benefits of meditation, what else does it do? What it does is it connects us. So we're human beings, and we have a physical presence, and we also have a non-physical presence. The connection we make is between the physical and the non-physical being. So, when we talk spirituality, a lot of people are thinking religions, and that sort of thing. But no, we can connect with our non-physical being very easily through meditation. And what that does for us is it's, again, like having music in the background, it settles us. And when we're settled, we can think clearly. And I think in the end, we realize that we are more than just a human being. I think when people do something extraordinary in life, they tap into something deep within themselves. And they don't always do it with meditation. Sometimes it just happens accidentally. But if it doesn't happen accidentally for you, and you're kind of feeling like, I feel like I could do something, but I'm not quite there, sort of thing. Well, I would totally suggest to meditate, because you'll find it. So it connects you with who you truly are. On the health and well-being side, it strengthens the immune system. And of course, we've been talking a lot about immune systems in the last few years with COVID and all those things. If your immune system is healthy, you shouldn't need too much doctoring. That's the inner doctor, if you like. I mean, humans have been living here for millions of years without a doctor. Obviously, with these plants in nature that help us do this and that. But generally, if you have a will to live, if you've got a good purpose in life, your immune system picks up on that. So our immune system is really connected to our consciousness. So that's the benefits that meditation brings. So I'm trying to get that out there, and obviously I play the music for that meditation, and that gets a bit of promotion as well.
When we were talking originally, when we first got connected, you were telling me about how you actually have made some of your own made some of your own instruments. How it's not just off the shelf type of equipment. Can you tell me about some of the equipment or the instruments you're actually using?
Uh, some of them are almost obsolete now because I was creating this music. I've been creating it for 40 years, and I've been meditating for 40 years. So when I started, I used a Yamaha brand, and it was quite suited to what I needed to do. So as a composer, a lot of musicians were using what's called a workstation, which is a synthesizer, keyboard synthesizer that would play layer up many parts, so you could do arrangements and then totally finish the recording and master it without actually having to spend too much time in the studio. So I used one of these, and I used one of Yamaha's latest synthesizers, and then they released a synthesizer called the VL1, which is a physical modeling synthesizer. It worked on a different principle, whereas the normal keyboard synthesizer had samples of sounds inside it, and when you played the key, they sounded like the sample in different key pitches.
I remember that.
So, whereas the physical modeling synthesizer actually created the dimensions of the instrument inside the technology. So everything. So if you played the keys and you were using a flute sound, the keys were literally putting your finger over a hole in the flute. So that's what you were
Wow.
doing. But also there was a blowing component as well, and so you had a breath controller which you plugged into the system, which and then you could apply your breath to the sound. So when you played a key, it didn't work until you blew the note, until you started blowing the note out. And that was a really different type of synthesis. It was fairly complicated, and a lot of musicians kind of turned away from it because, oh, I can't stand spending this much time in the technology of music. I want to write music, I want to play music, you know. But I've held on to that little that technology, and I now have what's called a guitar, which is a small keyboard that I hang around me like a guitar. Because I was a guitar player once, and well, I still am, but it has in my right hand. I play the keys. I'll come back here, and in my left hand, I can slur the note and trill the note and uh, do various things with the sound, and I'm blowing as well. So
Wow.
there's three things that happen: my right hand, my left hand, and my mouth all work together to play one note at once. So it's kind of a solo instrument, and I use it a lot in this music. Just I use it on the melodies when there are melodies in the music.
Can you tell me about your book called "In the Key of Peace"? How that came about? What the goal is behind the book?
Yeah, well, around 2010 or 11, I started to write the book. I was teaching meditation at the time, the Simply Stillness meditation, and I was getting ideas as I was teaching. I was realizing what worked, what didn't for people. And so in the end, I came up with a whole technique, workable technique from beginning to however far you wanted to go with meditation. And so essentially, I wrote the book about that. But just as we've done in this interview, where I came from, where I've been, what I've been doing came into the book as well. And each of the albums had a little story attached to it because I was releasing one album per year. And there was something going on in my life at that time which led me to write a particular album in a particular way. And now I think the writing from writing that book, I now write for Substack, which is a weekly column. It's kind of my newsletter. If you go into my website, you can connect with my newsletter, and I'm writing about philosophical approaches to life in today's world. Stress, how we handle stress, and how we handle our life purpose. There's a lot of stuff in there that people today find extremely fascinating, and it helps them a lot because they are asking themselves this question: who am I? What am I doing here? And in many ways, no one can answer that for you but you. And so that's why I recommend meditation. I'm not actually solving anybody's problem, but I'm giving them the tools to solve the problem themselves.
That's one of the things that I've noticed when I've listened to your music. I don't know
Yeah,
a person in America who's not overworked, overstressed, just
yeah,
always got 15 things on her plate. But
yep,
I'll wake up in the middle of the night, a lot of nights, with some kind of a problem or the solution to the problem. Jump up,
mm,
I run in the studio, go in the other office there, and start working again. And this is something just after we did the first interview a couple of months back,
yep,
where I realized, hey, let me look up some music here, put on some relaxational stuff that's not going to put me back to sleep, but can help me just mellow out, quit stressing out about the problems. Is that part of your goal? Or are you connecting with a lot of Americans right now?
some, yes, and I think it's also a situation that's worldwide. Actually, I think what's happening in America for people in America is happening everywhere. I think humanity is at that point where we need to look at these things. Everything's happening in the world today. Everything. Everybody's going to have a voice. Everybody wants to do something, and that's great. It's exciting, but it can also be very complicated for people if you've got a particular goal in mind. You might feel like you're in competition with everyone, but you know, when you're centered in yourself, when you're connected, you realize that you're a unique person, and that whatever you do, no one else will be doing it quite the way you're doing it. And I think that's something. It's part of our self-esteem is believing that we are a unique being. We've come here with something to do. Uh, when you meditate, it doesn't necessarily solve all your problems. You just have new problems higher up the ladder. You know, you deal with you deal with the ones that stop you from sleeping. You develop habits in your life, little affirmations, perhaps. I sometimes I sometimes wake up in the middle of the night still after 40 years of meditation, and I got something on my mind, and I'll do something like I am at peace in my life. I'll repeat that, or I am at peace in my life. I am happy with who I am. I am happy with where I am. I'm grateful for everything I have, and I'm grateful for everything I have achieved. And if you get those four lines and repeat them over and over, you'll go to sleep to them, because what they're doing is relaxing you, as you say. It's kind of like, well, everything's okay. This is a sleep time. It's part of your rejuvenation. I'll think about it in the morning. And I think meditation helps you to do that. I think it helps you to put things in places instead of letting everything happen to you all at once.
My fiance's got a 7 year old son from a previous marriage that I just love this little guy.
Yeah,
Super cool kid. But
yeah,
he's had over the years, he's had a real hard time with not only sense of self worth, but also stressing about everything. I mean, 7 years old, having
yeah,
crazy stress and being
yeah,
everything is a problem, like an unsolvable problem. So we've been working on that a lot with him, trying to help him realize that, hey, I'm a
yeah,
good kid. I've got a good life. I've got the problems that I'm worried about right now can be fixed, or they really don't matter. I'd like to share him those four topics that you just shared with me, and kind of
yeah,
maybe put that into his daily kind of
yeah.
daily mantra.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure, not just on children. There is pressure on children, and children certainly feel it. But there's pressure on everyone. I think that sad. It's in a way it's sad to see children getting feeling the media selling them. Everything's being sold to them,
Yeah,
and that's kind of saying to them, well, the last thing you bought's not good enough now. It's old. Buy a new one. Buy a
yeah,
new one. And this really upsets children, because that's more major than an adult can justify that. They can say, oh, well, actually, I might leave it for a while and put my money together and save up for it. There's a lot, adults have a lot more control over, but children, they just go into total emotions when they can't
yeah.
have what they want. What I'm saying is that maybe humanity needs to measure what it feeds into children, what children hear. And also, I think that a big part of the in the Key of Peace book was connecting with the inner child, And when adults, you know, our inner child was where we were when we arrived here. And so we were, in many ways, intuitively wise. We knew everything intuitively, but we knew nothing logically. And so life was about learning the logics of how you live life and all, you know, money, all that sort of stuff. And in some ways that has been so entrenched in our society that children have had to let go of this very valuable, beautiful child energy that just wants to play and enjoy themselves. And I think we've got to let children be children. I also think that grown-ups need to have a little bit of inner child as well. And you know, how important are artists in the world? You know, whether you write music, write
Absolutely.
poetry, write a book, paint a picture, carver, sculptor, they're not that important because they don't get paid very well, and yet they bring so much wisdom through their art. And I think this would be a good acknowledgement. And I'm not saying this because it's very difficult to make a living down here in New Zealand, but it's something that's missing in humanity. You know, if we talk about funding something which is valuable to humanity, art should be right up the top there. Yet it's not. It's other things. It's gadgets. It's devices. It's all that sort of stuff. And they just keep, you know, they go obsolete. Then you've got to buy a new one. And after a while, people feel like it's just a treadmill, you know. And
Exactly.
meditation is a good option if you want to be objective to that and find your own way around it. And I think that's really important for people. It's not about finding someone that can help you. It's about finding that in yourself. Be your own healer. Be your, you know, yeah,
Now, if somebody's watching this show right now on Amazon Fire TV, watching the interview with Jeffree
yeah,
Clarkson of Jeffree Music, or if you're reading the article in Newswire Magazine, you can scroll down to the bottom, click the link there, and it'll take you to jeffreemusic.com. You'll see a
yep,
full, basically, call to action that'll have some different places where you can go pick up his book
yep.
or get some music, whatever. What advice would you have for say, a parent of a young kid like this that's trying to help that kid figure out, don't stress over everything that comes up, stress
Yeah.
over all the stuff that you can fix. Do you have any specific advice for that kid?
There's a lot of interest at the moment in New Zealand with regard microwave energy, the energy that comes off cell phones, the energy that comes from 5G towers, 4G, 3G. There's all and I know that America, New Zealand, and Australia all have the highest threshold. In other words, we allow quite a high degree of this
Okay.
microwave energy before we say, hang on a minute. Whereas France and Russia and those places don't their thresholds are about 100 times lower. And I'm not kidding you. And so they're talking in New Zealand. There's a lot of talk around New Zealand at the moment about, you know, the effect it has on children at school because the schools are full of computers. And also mums and dads bringing up their children wanting to be on the screen all the time, whether it be a mobile phone or a TV. You know, when I was a child, we didn't have TV. You probably heard that line before. I love technology. I really do. My music is about technology, but there's a place for it. I still love nature, and I'll go out into nature. And when I go out into nature, I rejuvenate. I feel good. Whereas if kids and adults don't get a break from the screen and from microwave energy, it's going to hurt after a while. And I'm sure a lot of the mental health problems have a lot to do with that. We need to give ourselves time out. And meditation is a way of doing that. It's the beginning of that. Where you go to from meditation is where you choose. There's no right answer. It's just where you want to go. Who are you? What do you love to do? And why shouldn't you be doing what you love and be paid for that in your life? Isn't that
I love
surely
that.
where humanity is going?
Absolutely. And speaking of getting paid, I mean, this is not supposed to be an infomercial, but I'm going to sell this for you here. Just like I said, listening to Jeffree Music on SoundCloud. Um, this Peace and Quiet collection is absolutely awesome. Now, this
Yeah,
is coming from a guy who has never meditated. I've always been the gym guy, the weightlifting and wrestling and boxing and I didn't think that meditation fit into that, but the more I'm aging and figuring out, man, you are so much more productive when you can take a little bit of breath,
Yeah,
relax, just get.
yeah.
You'll be more productive in business as well.
I think there are a lot of sports who would recommend meditation. Because you're right, it settles you. And if you're going to, there's a whole lot of things. If it's an individual sport, then to do your best, you need to be able to relax your energy right down. If you're in a team sport, uh, you need to be relaxed to be in tune with everybody. We have a great rugby team in this country, and they do some great things on the field. I watch them, I like them. But sometimes they throw a pass and they don't even know where it's going, but they know there's somebody there because they're connected. They play as one. They're a team of, well, rugby 15 people playing as one person, and I think that's what meditation does. It kind of connects everybody together, and there's the other phenomenon that exists around us. We have a single consciousness. But there's also what's called a collective consciousness, which is all the human beings together form one consciousness, and that consciousness is kind of a reflection of how the world is going. So if we've got problems in the world, there's a problem. That's a representation of a lot of people having problems, and so it's important to meditate so we can settle our consciousness in our own lives, obviously, and live our lives happily, as happy as we can. Work on that, and and that makes a difference to the whole world. And so when we say, you don't have to do anything to make a difference in the world, you just have to be yourself. But a lot of people aren't being themselves. They are people out there in the world, but they're not in here within themselves. And you can be in both places. In fact, if you're within yourself, you're feeling good, you're feeling at peace, you're going to be better out in the world. You're going to do a lot better as a sports person, as whatever. Yeah.
That's powerful. At this point right now, you've got 16 different EPs or extended, what are they called? Extended play uh,
Yep.
songs online, and you've got 8 more coming, right?
Yep. They're all, apart from one or two, they're all tracks that I've written over the years. And they relate to albums, how we used to have CDs and cassettes and things like that. Now we have a digital music. So when we don't need albums, we just put up tracks now. Musicians will just put up a track. Some musicians are still putting up albums, and that's fine. But just the track. So people buy the track. The tracks that I've got up on that collection, they're all over 22 minutes long. So, if you're going to meditate, you put the music on quietly, and then you sit down and you become still. You make sure you're comfortable, sit in your chair, be still. And the music will just cruise with you, and you'll be surprised how you can last the 20 minutes and keep still without wanting to move. And that's the key. So all I've now got 24 tracks up on social media, 24 meditation length tracks where people can just meditate their own way. Look, meditation, I've found after teaching meditation, there's not a lot of teaching to be done as such. It's just this is how it feels like to meditate, and that's what people want to know. The rest is natural. And then one or two things that can happen while you meditate, not to be concerned about or to address as you're meditating. I teach that as well. But generally, it's a very natural process for humans, and it's really time we started to meditate. And you can't meditate well or badly either. It's just meditation. You're not necessarily a master at it, or nor are you a learner. Once you're going, you're fully meditating. Yeah.
Wow, I wish I'd heard that years ago. You can't meditate badly? Oh, would you
Oh,
say you can't meditate badly or wrongly?
yeah. Every meditation is different. You can't meditate. You can't be a master of it, or you can't be. You can be a learner in the first place, but you become a master really quickly, and because you get good at it, and it becomes natural. Because it is natural, you can't judge it because every meditation is what it is. And they're all different, by the way, because you're at a different point in time with a different set of thoughts. And I encourage in the meditation, I don't encourage people to clear their mind, to get into any psychological friction with themselves by trying to clear their thoughts away. I recommend people have their thoughts in their meditation. And part of the teaching is to tell them that even though you let yourself think, the thoughts drift away, and then you become really still for a few minutes. Then a thought will come back, and you have the thought. Then you go really still for a few minutes, and this up and down of meditation is normal. That's how it works. And sometimes you'll sit down to meditate, and you'll get up and you'll think, "Gosh, nothing happened. I didn't see a thing." And other times it'll be like you're having thoughts all the time. So that's how it is.
Wow, man, I wish I would have met with you 10 years ago, 15 years ago when I had tried, stressing out. I mean, to the
Yeah.
point, I had survived brain cancer. So
Yep.
stress
Yep.
causes seizures between
It does. Yeah.
cancer, diabetes. I was having 7 to 10 seizures a week, and I had been suggested to meditate. But I'm going, I have got so much stuff going on. There's no way that I can clear my mind. This is not even
Yep.
possible. So
No.
for you to say that, that's huge, man.
Yeah.
One of the things that I figured out just in the last few months here is I picked up these blocks that are they're like a timer block, and so that's what I've done. I'll put on your music, set the
Right.
20-minute side up, and I can
Okay.
kick back, and that way I'm not stressed about. Okay, I'm
Yep.
going to take too long doing this zoning out thing, but
Yep.
set it on 20 minutes, kick back, listen to music, and just relax. And
Yeah.
that's something I would recommend if you're listening to this, watching this show on Amazon TV right now, or reading this article, and you've never meditated before, take a minute, get on, go to jeffreemusic.com or scroll down, click the link, download some of the music, or just listen to it on SoundCloud.
Yep.
You'll be amazed by how much better you feel and how much more connected you are just
Yeah.
by doing the meditation.
If you do it every day, after a couple of weeks, you'll feel quite different.
Man, I sure appreciate you being on the show again today, Mr. Clarkson.
Yeah.
Jeffree Music, good to have you here, sir.
Thanks, Curtis. Been great being here.
Do you have any final thoughts for the audience that's been watching this video today?
Keep your thoughts positive, whatever. Take that look. If you find yourself being caught in a negative loop, there'll be a number of reasons why. But sit down quietly, play some relaxing music, breathe. Just breathe in, breathe out. And when you're breathing out the problems. And breathe in good, rejuvenating energy. I think that's what I would recommend.
Well, I appreciate you. Thanks again for being on the show. And if you guys are watching this right now, go look up Jeffree Music. Follow him on all the social media platforms. If you're on SoundCloud or Substack or any of those type of platforms, be sure to get connected. So nice to have you on the show again today, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Been lovely to be here. Always lovely to chat with you, Curtis. It's fantastic.